The archive chamber hummed with the soft glow of preservation fields, each one cradling fragments of a civilization that had vanished 3,000 years ago. Eleanor stood before the largest display, her hands clasped behind her back, studying the angular script that covered the crystalline tablet with the casual interest one might give to a morning newspaper. Jasper's chitinous plates clicked together in what his species considered polite bewilderment. The Cree scholar had spent 47 standard years studying the Varathian language, 47 years of painstaking analysis, cross-referencing 6 different linguistic databases, and collaborating with the finest xenolinguists in 3 sectors. He had managed to translate perhaps 30% of the known texts. This human had been aboard the research station for 6 hours. "You cannot possibly," Jasper began, his translator struggling to convey the precise mixture of indignation and disbelief in his clicking voice, "be reading that correctly." Eleanor glanced over her shoulder, one eyebrow raised. "Why not? It's fairly straightforward once you recognize the root structure. See this symbol here?" She pointed to an angular mark that had confounded scholars for decades. "It's a conjugation marker. Second person, future tense with an implication of obligation." Jasper's sensory stalks drooped. That particular symbol had been the subject of his doctoral thesis. He had concluded it was possibly religious iconography. "The Varathian language," he said slowly, "is considered one of the most complex dead languages in the known galaxy. The syntax alone requires—" "Oh, the syntax is the easy part," Eleanor interrupted, turning back to the tablet. "It's a subject-object-verb structure with modifier prefixes and case suffixes. Pretty similar to ancient Korean, actually, mixed with some agglutinative elements like Finnish, and the verb aspects remind me of Navajo." She paused, tilting her head. "Though I suppose you wouldn't know those references." Jasper didn't. But that wasn't what disturbed him. What disturbed him was watching Eleanor's eyes track across the text with the fluid ease of someone reading their native script. The Varathians had been extinct before humanity had even discovered fire, before they had written their first words in mud and clay on that distant blue world. "How many languages do humans typically speak?" Jasper asked carefully. "Most people. 1 or 2. I speak 14 fluently, can read about 30, and can usually puzzle out another 20 or so given enough context." Eleanor said this the way one might mention knowing how to cook pasta. "Languages are kind of my thing. 14. Fluently." Jasper spoke 4 languages after a lifetime of study. Most Cree spoke 2, their native tongue and galactic standard. The Varathian language represented the culmination of his career, and he had barely scratched its surface, but how? He managed. The grammatical complexity, the cultural context, the sheer volume of vocabulary. "Humans are really good at pattern recognition," Eleanor explained, now moving to another tablet. "And language is just patterns. This word here appears 17 times in this text alone, always in proximity to symbols indicating water or fluid." Conditional clause marker. This repeated phrase structure suggests emphasis through repetition rather than volume. They probably didn't have tonal variation in their speech. She was doing it again. Reading a language that had died millennia before her species had looked up at the stars and wondered. Jasper's research team had taken 3 years to reach those same conclusions. "Your species must dedicate enormous educational resources to linguistic training," he said. Eleanor laughed. "Not really. I just liked languages as a kid, picked up French from my grandmother, started learning Spanish and Mandarin in school, got obsessed with linguistics in university." She shrugged. "Humans are weird about collecting skills. Some of us collect languages like others collect stamps or rocks or data on star formations." "As a hobby," Jasper said flatly. "Well, yeah, I mean, it's also my job now, but it started as a hobby." Eleanor had moved to a 3rd tablet, her fingers tracing the air above its surface, careful not to disturb the preservation field. "Oh, this is interesting. This is poetry. Look at the meter structure. See how every 3rd line breaks the pattern? That's intentional. Creates emphasis, poetry." She was analyzing alien poetry in a language she had encountered that morning. Jasper felt something his species rarely experienced: inadequacy. The Cree were known throughout the galaxy as scholars and archivists. They preserved knowledge, studied the lost and forgotten. It was their purpose, their pride. And this human, this being from a species barely a century into galactic society, Was reading their life's work like it was yesterday's news. I don't understand, Jasper admitted quietly. How does your species do this? Eleanor turned to face him fully, and her expression softened with something like sympathy. I think humans had to be good at this. We evolved on a world where we were pretty vulnerable. No armor, no natural weapons, not particularly fast or strong. But we could communicate. We could share information, build on each other's knowledge, create complex social structures. She gestured at the tablets around them. We had to learn to read each other, read our environment, find patterns in everything from weather to animal behavior, to which plants would kill us and which would feed us. That drive to understand, to decode, to translate the unknown into the known, it's baked into us at a pretty fundamental level. So every human can do what you do? Jasper asked. God, no, Eleanor laughed. I'm weird even by human standards. But the capacity is there. The brain structure that lets me juggle 14 languages and decode dead ones, that same structure lets other humans compose symphonies, or visualize complex mathematical proofs, or understand quantum mechanics intuitively, or build machines, or paint, or tell stories that make you weep. She turned back to the poetry tablet, her voice growing softer. We're all just using the same basic hardware in different ways. Pattern recognition and communication. Those are our evolutionary advantages. They just manifest differently in different people. Jasper was quiet for a long moment processing this. Finally, he clicked his mandibles in what might have been a laugh. The Galactic Council was quite concerned when humanity joined. They worried about your aggression, your unpredictability. And now I think they should have worried about your competence. He gestured at the tablets. What else does that poetry say? Eleanor's smile was radiant. Want me to translate it? Please, Jasper said. I've been trying to decode that piece for 6 years. She read it aloud, translating in real time, her voice giving life to words that had been silent for 3 millennia. And Jasper listened, taking notes and wondering what other impossible things humans considered hobbies. When the Galactic Council asked his opinion on humanity later, he would tell them the truth. Humans weren't dangerous because they were aggressive. They were dangerous because they made the impossible look easy, and they did it just for fun.